What happens when someone who said she would never work on a dairy ends up finding her true passion in feed management? Well, in this episode, you'll meet Michaela Bethard, feed manager at High Plains Ponderosa Dairy in Kansas. From interning in New Zealand to managing one of the most essential departments on a large-scale dairy today, Michaela opens up about her journey, the power of learning every day, and why she believes people will always be the heartbeat of agriculture. This and more today on the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. NWI Animal Health is your partner in animal health, where our people drive us to think forward every day. NWI Animal Health is committed to working with you to identify cutting-edge solutions to your common challenges. We unite with innovators and manufacturers to provide access to products and solutions designed to help you find success in each aspect of your animal health business. So, Michaela, I've been able to sit down with your dad in the past, and also a couple of your colleagues at High Plains Ponderosa, Will and Jordan. But I'm really excited to hear from your views, your perspective, and your experience. Let's start out. Tell me a little bit through your eyes. What is that history and that story behind High Plains Ponderosa and how you and your family have been a part of it?
I mean, the dairy's been there for quite a while. They started in 2001. With a few local families. And then my family came in around 2017. And they partnered with a couple other families to do some expansion. And then I came in about 2.5 years ago.
So your current role is feed manager,
yeah.
Or have you grown into some other responsibilities since?
I've sort of taken on a little bit I originally came in just as the feed manager, but now I help out with some silage things. I do a little bit of data stuff. I kind of just fill in where I'm able.
Everything in your world really centers around feeding.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, it does.
And so is this where you always planned to be? Was your path to be here?
No, it was not.
So take me back. How did it evolve to you being part of High Plains Ponderosa? Like, what was that path like that brought you?
So when I was a kid, I didn't even want to do dairy, really. My dad was a dairy nutritionist, and I would go to dairies with him and stuff, and I liked it. It was fine. We had some beef cows. They were fine. I had a horse. I liked doing that better. I liked animals. I wanted to be a vet when I was little. I thought I wanted to be a vet for a really long time. And then I got to college. I decided to major in animal science. But I thought that would be, I really liked working with all kinds of animals. So I thought that would be a good segue into vet school or whatever I wanted to do. And then I did a pre-vet day and was like, that is not for me.
Oh, okay. So
do not like doing that.
So tell me more about that. So you were in school at
Colorado State.
Yep. And so there was this one big, defining day.
Yes, they had a pre-vet day where, you got to kind of taste test what it would be like to be in vet school. And I was like, no, I don't like this.
That's a big moment, especially when that was the path that you had in your mind.
Yeah, I think I just went back to my dorm and cried. It's like, I don't know what to do with myself now. I don't know. So then I kind of started exploring other options and playing around. I interned at a couple of dairies. I took some beef classes. I took meat science classes, everything that you kind of have to take for an animal science degree. And I really enjoyed working on the dairies. And then in my senior year, I got an intern to hire offer with a beef operation. And I was like, well, I'll give that a try. So I did that for a couple of years. I worked on a feed yard. And I was a management trainee and became the feed manager on that feed yard. So I learned how to feed cows on a feed yard, which I think was an incredibly valuable experience to have because there's not many places that know how to feed cows better than a feed yard. And then I was I was feeling ready to move on from that. I thought maybe I wanted to do grad school, but I wasn't sure. And then I came back home to Kansas for our employee Christmas party at the dairy, just to visit my family and go to the Christmas party and all of that. And then I saw the camaraderie of everybody at the dairy and the employee culture and just how everybody cares about each other. And I I've really missed that because I hadn't had that in a while. That kind of, like family aspect of all of the employees and everything. And so I called Jordan at High Plains Ponderosa. I was like, I think maybe I might be interested in coming back. And they actually had been starting to talk about wanting to hire a feed manager. They did not have one, and they had been discussing that they really needed one because it was becoming too big of there were a few people covering the various aspects, but it was really to the point where they needed a person.
Also, as you talked about earlier, like something really kind of unlocked for you when you had that defining moment of saying, veterinary is not the path I want to follow.
Right.
And you started to look at some other opportunities, and that really got you into this feed area.
Yes.
So what was it for you as you started to just explore that path that just lit a spark in you?
I found that, when I was in my degree in school, I always liked the nutrition and the genetics classes the most. I felt like those were the most interesting. They were, it was really diverse, and there's just so much going on in both nutrition and genetics. There's still a lot that we can learn, a lot that, we can improve on and discover with both of those things. So I really wanted to do one of those two things. And then when I took the intern to hire position, I started in their genetics department and was doing things with that. And then when I was hired on, they needed somebody to work in feed at one of their feed yards. And I was like, well, I like that too, so I'll give that a try. And then when I started doing that, I was like, oh, I really, really like this. This really, I honestly don't really know what it is about it that works so well for me, but something about it just really fits and works for me.
Okay, so what are a couple of the biggest lessons that you learned working at a feed yard?
Well, I learned how important it is to read bunks, honestly, like being good at reading bunks and caring a lot about it and taking your time and, working really hard to develop the intuition and the ability to read bunks is extremely, extremely valuable. You can save or lose a ton of money on reading bunks. And managing refusals and all of that, because particularly on feed yards, you feed in J bunks. Like dairies, you can just push everything out with a loader basically, or a skid steer or something. But on feed yards, you have J bunks. So if you feed too much, you have to shovel it all out by hand.
Okay.
So, but you don't want to run them way out of feed. So there's like a really tight window of where you want to have them running out of feed to have them just hungry enough to be eating right, but not slug feeding. Not having too much feed in there to where you have to hand shovel everything out. So I got really good at reading bunks and kind of developing the ability to read the behavior and the feed and all of that. And I think that is honestly the most valuable thing that I learned there, because that's not something that I've seen a lot in dairy, is the focus on bunk management.
And so for you, like you talk about, that's a big part of what you do today is reading those bunks on the dairy.
Yep.
So like, what does that look like for you when you say that you read bunks? Walk me through the steps.
So I'm just driving through each feed lane every day and looking at the amount of feed that we have left in the feed bunk. And I've got my laptop in my pickup with me with the history of everything that we fed. And I can look at what we fed yesterday or the day before, whether we added feed, subtracted feed, anything like that. And I look at how much feed is in there, how many cows are in the pen, and the behavior of the cows. If there's a lot of feed there, or if there's no feed there, if there's a lot of cows up at the bunk looking at me, ready to eat. If there's no cows, you kind of look at the behavior, and then you can make some adjustments.
So this is as much having the analytical eye for seeing what's in front of the animals, but also you talked about watching animal behavior too.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of bringing those two pieces together of the analytical side, but also the observatory side. And is that fun? Like,
it is.
You enjoy that?
And that, I'm really the only person on the dairy that drives through every single feed lane every single day. So I see all the cows, and, I can see a lot of stuff from the feed lane too. If I see any health issues or anything like that, I'll take pictures. I'll send stuff to our cattle team. There's a lot of things I can see. If there's water is broken, if there's anything, I have the ability to see a lot of that stuff by driving through all of the feed lanes every day, and I can send that information out to everybody. So yeah. I think that has some value too.
So this is really the skill set that you've honed in on is just being able to put these pieces together of what you see in the bunk, what you see in the animals, and communicate that to the others on the team to be able to make the right changes, make the right moves. So it's been a couple of years now that you've been part of High Plains,
Yes.
part of the team there. So what have been some of the biggest challenges or learning curves for you since coming into the feed manager position?
We opened a new feed center, so I had the challenges of starting a new feed center up. We started up some new. We use micro machines, and we started up some extra micro machines and doing new systems with that as well. So figuring out how to work all of those, that took some time and effort. And then as we've gone through some expansion as well, my team is growing. When I got there, I had a really excellent team that was like very solid, had been there for a while. And then now I didn't have to do very much with the team because I just had a really solid group of people that was already there. And now I've been adding on to them. So, getting the right people in there and developing a bigger team has been a whole new challenge.
So you've gone from managing feed to managing people and now doing both.
Right. I like to be by myself. I like to, work in quiet by myself. So having to be in charge of a lot of people and doing a lot of stuff with that is definitely pushed me outside of my comfort zone and a challenge.
So it's been a growth area.
Yes.
And so what has that team growth looked like in the last couple of years?
I've probably doubled my team. Honestly, we've added quite a few people. And there's been, we've kind of had to cycle through a few people to find the right fits because it's not an easy job. It's kind of stressful, and feed it's a very important part of the dairy, and it's very important to do things accurately, to do things correctly. So it's a bit of a high stress area. So finding the right people can be a bit of a challenge. But then it's just giving people a little bit of time to learn and to figure out the trucks, and because we've got various different kinds of feed trucks and quite an expansive system. So just a little bit of room to learn and a little bit of grace has helped a lot.
So what have you learned about the qualities or strengths of the right candidate to be a part of your team?
I think honestly, the biggest thing is that they care a lot. That's what I want the most from them, is that they care a lot. I need them to be able to operate heavy equipment, obviously. Like, that's a very important part of it because all of our equipment is big, and you can cause a lot of damage really easily. So they need to be proficient at operating heavy equipment. But most of all, I do really want them to care about their job and what they're doing, and to take pride in what we're doing. There's the feed. Without feed, there is no dairy. So, the cows can't live without what we're doing. So I really like when my people take a lot of pride in what we're doing, and wanting to do it right, and telling people, that we're doing a good job and the things that we're doing. I think that matters a lot because they want to work harder. They want to, when we're having problems, if they care a lot, they're okay to stay later. If we've had breakdowns or other things, they want to stay later because they want to make sure that everything is done right. If they see a problem, they'll tell me because they want to make sure that we're doing everything right and taking care of the cows as best we can.
So there's a certain level of self-motivation. And so how do you find the right people then? Like, are they people that are already on the dairy, or do you have to actively recruit?
Kind of both.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both. Sometimes we'll have people, we've had milkers, we've had other equipment operators that have asked to move to feed. And that I really like when we get those people because they've already kind of seen it and they know they want to do it. Then we've had people call up and say that they've fed in other places or that they're interested in that. And those tend to be the people that work out the best, is the ones that already actively had an interest in feed.
So for you then, as you have grown into your role, grown your team, that's meant that you've had to personally grow as a leader and a manager.
Yes.
So what's been the biggest area for you personally that you've really had to develop in?
I think just managing people. When I worked on the feed yard, I only had 3 feeders. So and they were pretty self-sufficient. I didn't have to do too much. I was mostly managing, bunks and inventories and various other little things, but I didn't really have to do much on the managing people side. And now that I have a much bigger team, I have to be a little bit more involved on the people side, and that's definitely harder for me because I'm not an extroverted person at all.
So is there any particular incident that comes to mind or occurrence where you would really had to actively be like, okay, this is uncomfortable for me to have to put myself out there, but really had to, kind of challenge yourself to do just that, bring people together, say the right things, do those things that were maybe a bit of a stretch.
Yeah. Well, when I started, I kind of, because I'd never worked anywhere like this. And when I started, I sort of felt like I wasn't necessarily not qualified, but that I wasn't ready to take on something of this scale because I had never done something like that. So I kind of, for the first several weeks, I just kind of rode around with the guys. I went in loaders, I went with the silage guys, I went in the feed trucks, and that was a lot of human interaction.
Well, it was more than what you were used to from being on a feed yard.
Right. Yes, I'm used to working by myself. So that was a lot of interaction with people that I don't usually do. But I felt like otherwise I was going to have absolutely no idea what they were doing, and they weren't going to want to listen to me at all because they would say that I had no idea what I was doing and I had never learned anything about what they were doing. So I kind of felt like I had to, and that was way far out of my comfort zone. I think that it helped because it helped me create a relationship with some of those guys. We talked about their families and we talked about the job, and I feel like that kind of fostered a little bit closer of a relationship, which has helped, when we've had when we have a lot of breakdowns and I've got to tell them, hey, we got to stay late today, that it helps a lot.
So that was something that felt a little bit uncomfortable, but yet would you say it was one of the best investments you could have made?
Yes.
Starting?
Yes, it was. I did not want to do it, but I am glad that I did.
Okay. So again, you've been doing this for a couple of years now. You've grown into this, growing into your role even more, managing feed, managing people. And so if at some point you moved on to, say, a different role in the dairy and you had to train someone else in, and you were like, I'm going to write them a playbook of the 3 most important things that they would need to know to be a successful feed manager, what would that playbook be?
I think they would need to focus on feed bunk management and minimizing refusal, like deciding on what percentage of refusals you want and really working on that target in the feed bunks, and then really closely monitoring inventories and what feed you're getting each week when you order feed, and just staying on top of what you're getting to make sure that you're not getting shorted loads, that you've got enough feed on hand all the time. And then probably, it sort of depends on the team, but when you're putting up silage, just keeping an eye on your chop, on how you're putting up your silage. We have a silage team and a silage manager as well, but I appreciate I've gotten much more involved in silage as time has gone on, and I think that's really helped me, since that's a huge part of what we feed, to be involved in the silage and to make sure that we're putting up what we want, because that's such a huge part of the diet. So making sure that you've got the silage that you want.
And so, when you think about how much you've learned, you think about the path that brought you back to the dairy, a place you didn't think you would ever want anything to do with.
I literally said never.
Never.
I said never. That's why they say never, because I said never, and here I am.
And here you are. So who are some of the people that really influenced you, that kind of mentored you, or maybe just spoke those right words into your life at the right times?
Probably for the biggest influences have been my parents. I would say both of them, because they both have just been unerringly supportive through everything. I never felt any pressure to do anything. They just, throughout everything, it was like whatever I wanted to do, they were wholly supportive of me following my dreams and my career and my vision. if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And
So,
and it was your choice.
yes.
It was 100% your
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah, if I had not gone to the feed yard and had that experience, if I hadn't thought about grad school and decided not to go to that path, if I hadn't done all of these different things, I wouldn't have found my way back to the dairy. And if he hadn't just said, it's your life, I'm going to support you in whatever you want to do, I don't think it would have worked. So,
Any regrets about not doing grad school?
at this point, no. I think I could always go back if I wanted to. I kind of had thought that I was going to at some point, but when I finished my bachelor's degree, I had thought, because my dad did grad school and everything, so I was like, oh, I'll just, there's a lot of degrees in my family. Most of my family has some form of graduate degree, so I kind of always thought I would do it. And then when I was getting towards the end of my bachelor's degree, I was like, I just need a little bit of a break from school. I want to go work. I want to try something and see, what it's like being out in industry, and then kind of proceed from there after I've had a little bit of a break and tried that. And then I got out in industry, and, I had a couple of years and I really liked it. I was thinking about grad school. I was actually thinking about genetics for grad school. I was on the fence. I had talked to a professor a little bit, but I was on the fence. And then I went back home for the Christmas party at the dairy and was like, no, this is where I want to be. I think that, with the expansions that they were considering and the job opening and all of the things that I could learn and all of the people that I could work with, that you've done episodes with other people that work there. There's a lot of really talented people that work there and a lot that I could learn from there. And I just felt like I was going to get more at this point in my life from going there.
And when you think about where you're at now and where you'd want to be 10 years from now,
Mm-hmm.
where do you see yourself?
It's hard to look that far in the future, honestly, but I wouldn't be surprised if I am still where I am at the dairy. I think I will, as long as there's still things to learn in being in feed at the dairy, I think I will still be there. As soon as I stop having something new to learn every day, I think I will get bored and I will want to try something new. But as long as I can still learn things, I think I will stay happy. I need to continue to have some mental challenges and new things to learn. And as long as that's still there, I think I will stay happy. And I feel like there's probably gonna stay opportunities to learn there.
Yeah.
So
has there been a day yet when you haven't learned something?
no, there hasn't. There's always something. So, some days are harder than others, but all of those days teach you something.
Yeah.
And, every now and then it's nice to have a little bit of an easy day, but I wouldn't be surprised if I'm still there in 10 years. So, I came in doing a job that I was qualified for, and I don't have, crazy aspirations for anything. I'm at a level where I think I belong, and we have other people at higher levels where they belong. And I think that kind of helps a little bit.
Yeah. It sounds like you really, you own your own role,
Mm-hmm.
and just dig your heels into it every day.
Yes.
And
Like feed is mine.
yeah.
This is I'm not aspiring for anything else. I'm not striving for anything else. Like, this is mine. I want to be the best that I can possibly be at feed. And I'm not like using this as a stepping stone for something else. This is mine.
So, okay. So with feed being your passion, your area of focus, we kind of talked about what 10 years from now could look like for you, but I'm really interested to get your insights on what you think feed management could look like 10 years from now.
I mean, there's a lot of directions that it could go. I think, like, for me, I have my night feed pusher fills out a paper for me every night of like what time bunks are empty and everything. And I use that data when I read bunks in the morning. That's one spot for dairies that don't have that ability, or, they use the robotic pushers, having a camera on that, or, like having a camera on it that might be able to analyze what time the bunks are empty or something like that. I think that kind of thing could potentially help. And that's maybe a potential use for AI if you've got that footage. I still personally, job security, but I still think it's a really good thing to have somebody have their eyes on the cows and on the feed bunks. I think that there's still value in having a human brain and human eyes on those types of things, because the AIs are not going to look at what the cows are actively doing. They're not going to be looking and spotting all of the, like, hey, that water is leaking a little bit. That cow's a little bit lame, those types of things. I don't think that the AI really is going to be able to spot those kinds of things. But I think cameras can have some value to help kind of monitor bunks overnight if you don't have somebody that can write things down or, kind of transfer that information. But I think we could get in a bit of a sticky situation by asking too much or putting too much onto computers and taking too much away from people. I think we're getting into a bit of a scary spot there, in my opinion, a little bit. I don't think we should put everything on computers and take the people all the way out of it. There's still value in having people do things.
Yeah. Well, and because you've done it. Your eye and that human eye is bringing a value that, from what I'm hearing from you, you believe would be really hard to replace.
I think
that
so.
level.
I think so. And I mean, it's the same, like, technically, I think you could ask an AI model to make a ration for you, and I think it would give you one. But does that replace a nutritionist coming out and shaking out your rations and walking your pens and checking your manure and looking at your body conditions and all of that? Like, it can do it, but is it really replacing the human? In my opinion, no. I think, there's still more benefit to having the people do it. And I think that we maybe need to, maybe in the next 10 years, we could figure out the balance between where the AI can be valuable without replacing people, or, using the AI to replace people in ways that's actually detrimental. Because if we use the AIs to write our rations, I think that we're actually going to be doing something worse, even though it's technically cheaper. I think it's going to be more expensive in the long run if the AI is writing our rations versus paying a nutritionist.
And all the nutritionists that are listening to this conversation are like, hallelujah.
I think, all these consultants and all the, all these different things that the people on the dairy do, I don't think that we're actually going to get more value out of having computers do all of it.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance between using computers to assist with something, when we've got these massive data sets.
Yeah.
I think that we can use the computers to help analyze some of that, because, we've got data that is too big to put into a spreadsheet. So, having a database, and I think that AIs can help to kind of pare that data down and bring it into a usable format. I think that's one of the better uses of AI. But, typing in simple little things to ChatGPT and, using it for all kinds of little stuff, I'm like, well, we still have brains. We still have critical thinking. There's a lot we can still do that I think is worth continuing to have people to do. For me, I love doing feed bunks. So I have a lot of passion and I care a lot. And so I put more energy into it. With all of these things, a computer doesn't have passion. The AI doesn't care. And humans care a lot more. So you're going to get more out of it from a person caring about it, I think.
Ooh, that's a really good statement.
The AIs, they can't care. It's artificial intelligence. It's not real intelligence. There's no compassion. There's no emotion. They don't feel the things that we feel, so they can't do the things that we can do.
That's very powerful, Michaela. Especially coming from, like, someone that is, like, you're coming into a time in dairy management, and just, I would say, like, because what are you, 27? So, like, you think about the adaptation of so many of your peers to using AI for multiple things, right? Personal, professional, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to hear your perspective as someone that's in that demographic. And so what would be your best advice to a young person that is entering their own dairy career?
I mean, I did a lot of internships in college, and I, for the most part, just kind of approached dairies and was like, hey, I'm interested in interning here. Do you have openings for that? Would that be a possibility? I think just kind of picking where you would want to go and then just kind of putting yourself out there and asking and seeing what opportunities there are. It's kind of a challenge, but I think just thinking about where you really want to go and not saying no to opportunities, even if they're outside of dairy. You know, when I was a senior in college and I got the opportunity to work with the feed yard, I wasn't sure that I wanted to work in feed yard, but I was like, well, it's a job offer. I might, and you know, nothing has to be forever. You can try things. It's okay. You know, you don't have to, your job out of college doesn't have to be your forever job. I knew that wasn't going to be where I worked forever. I wasn't planning for it to be where I worked forever, but I was like, experience is experience. You can always learn something from wherever you work. So just try stuff.
Yeah.
Try new things. If you get opportunities, just take them. I did a study abroad in New Zealand as well. And I decided, we had like capstone classes where we had to learn about a specific segment of the livestock industry for my degree. And I decided while I was in New Zealand that was where I wanted to take my dairy science class, because that was one of the capstones that I can do. And I was like, well, where else am I going to learn about how to truly have a grass-fed dairy?
Wow.
That's all they do in New Zealand. So I decided, I was like, well, it's not really going to teach me how to dairy in the US, but when else am I going to have the opportunity to learn how to do this? So I took my dairy science class down there so that I could learn how to do dairy the way that they do. And that was really interesting. And, you know, they do things completely differently, but it's really cool.
Oh, how cool. Well, look at all the experiences that you pursued, that you chose and went after. And, you know, you said a couple of times in our conversation today that you tend to be a little more on the introverted side.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's so much to be garnered and to be taken away from others of like, you know, it was uncomfortable maybe to make those asks, to make those calls, to put yourself out there in those ways. But would you regret any of it?
No, I would not. You know, when I did the study abroad, I really wanted to do it. I was 19. I went to New Zealand by myself. I was scared, but I don't regret a single second of it because, I mean, I learned so much. I did so many things. I grew as a person.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up our conversation today with 5 short answer questions for you. And first question, in 3 words, how do you want to show up each day?
I try to show up to work each day being calm, being engaged with what I'm doing, and being confident that I can do it.
Ooh, calm, confident, engaged.
Yeah.
That's a good way to show up. What does success look like to you?
I'd say success, if I'm going day by day, success probably feeling like I've accomplished something during the day. Like I got something done during the day and I did something right. And even if it was like a gigantic problem that I managed to shrink down, if we at least shrunk it down, then I did at least accomplish something.
And do you feel like your feed manager role gives you the opportunity to do exactly that every day?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, honestly, success every day is if we get all those cows fed. That is a success for my whole department. But, you know, then for me personally, if I can check some stuff off my to-do list, I write myself a little list for the week. And if I can check at least one extra thing off every day, then I'm like, okay, I got something done outside, something extra done, then I've accomplished something.
Oh, there you go. And that's success.
Yeah.
All right. Who are the thought leaders that you follow?
Well, not to pump up his ego even higher, but I do seek a whole lot of advice from my dad. I do. He is the first person that I go to for advice on basically everything. Although for most of my life advice and everything, I go to my mom. My parents are the 2 people that I go to for like everything.
Yeah.
I think they've done a good job.
Okay. Words you live by. Do you have a favorite quote?
I don't have anything specific that I really try to live by. Just, I just try to not yell at people, and I try to be nice to people. I try to act in a way that I will not be embarrassed by in the future.
I think you just said it all right there. A lesson for all of us. Okay. And question number 5, our last question. What's your next up level? An area of your life, personally, professionally, that you are taking to the next level right now?
Well, I'm getting married in June. That's my biggest up level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's his up level, right?
I think both of us. Yeah. So getting married in June, we're hoping to, buy some land and build a house. So it's a very big personal up level.
Yeah, that's like full-time adulting.
Yes.
Marriage, house, and
And the one thing that once again I thought was not going to happen for me, that was like the thing that I accepted when I moved to Kansas, was like, okay, I'm just gonna be by myself.
wow.
There's like 8 people that live out there. And one of the 8
You found the
one of the 8 was my person. So it's not what I was expecting, but so then maybe my words are expect the unexpected.
There you go.
Didn't expect to move to Kansas. Didn't expect my person to be in Kansas. And didn't expect to work on a dairy.
Well, congratulations to you on that new chapter of your life.
Yeah.
And also congratulations to you on just the way that you've grown into your leadership and pushed yourself to take on challenges and to look for those opportunities and to just go after them. Well, thanks for chatting with me today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You just heard from Michaela Bethard of High Plains Ponderosa Dairy. Thanks for listening to this episode. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and please take a moment to rate, review, and share this episode of the podcast. As always, keep on growing, keep on learning, and up-leveling your dairy. NWI Animal Health is your partner in animal health, where our people drive us to think forward every day. MWI Animal Health is committed to working with you to identify cutting-edge solutions to your common challenges. We unite with innovators and manufacturers to provide access to products and solutions designed to help you find success in each aspect of your animal health business.